No. Welcome. It's about 6:02, so I think we'll get started. I'm Sharon Kirschbaum. I am the director here at DDOT, and I'm really excited to have my team share with you some great options for South Dakota Avenue. I know the council member was hoping to jump on. He's really book solid tonight, so if he does come, I will turn over the mic to him. But in the interim, just thank you for your interest and your attention. We are really all committed to making South Dakota Avenue safer. We had limited resources, but we're trying to optimize those resources. And our team will walk you through some scenarios and some ideas that we have. And then we really do want to hear from you after on how we should prioritize. All right. If the council member is not on yet, I will turn it over to to Syra, to give us some framing and some logistics for tonight's event. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Director. We appreciate you taking the time to be here today with us. Okay, so I'm just going to go over a few things that we'll be doing during this meeting. So again, welcome and thank you for joining us. So please note that this is an open meeting, and which means that this meeting is being recorded and will be available to the public. The video file will be shared on the project team website and also on YouTube channel. If you do not wish to voice your face to show, please you can use the chat or to ask any questions, or you can reach out to us via email. But note that if you do want to ask any questions, then it is going to be in the records and it's going to be recorded. If you have any technical support during this meeting, please call 202-997-8354. Again, it's 202-997-8354. Okay, so a few things to note for audio and muting. Everyone is going to be muted. You cannot unmute yourself. You can unmute during the Q&A and comment period. This helps ensure the meeting runs smoothly and there are no disruptions during the presentation. To request to speak, you will need to raise your hand, and the hand button will be down below. In the next slide, it will point to which one. But WebEx has an automatic system generated for closed caption as well, available during the meeting. Click the CC is on the lower left corner of the window to turn on closed caption. There are additional settings, so you may adjust the appearance of the caption if needed. Using the WebEx mobile application, click the three dots icon, scroll down and select the closed caption option. Make sure to toggle switch is blue. For video, your video camera is off by default and you will not be able to share video. Okay, and here's the details about now raising your hand. If you have any questions or comments that you would like to speak up about, please raise your hand. This indicates to the project team that you would like to speak. To virtually raise your hand, click the raised hand icon on the bottom center of the WebEx window. Alternatively, you may press the Control-Shift-R key on your keyboard to raise your hand. If you join via browser or mobile app, click the three dots icon and select raised hand. If you dial by phone, dial *3 to use the raise hand function. Okay, and then for the chat, it is a little bit different because WebEx did update their system recently. So for the WebEx, instead of it's not going to show as like exactly Q&A. What you're going to press is, it looks like the three little boxes and a plus sign, and it's still on the right corner. and so you select that, and it's called Slido. On the Slido, you will be able to type your question. We will receive your question, and then we will be answering them on this Slido system. If for some reason you have any trouble finding this or contacting us or answering your questions, again, we you could use the raised hand feature, or you can reach out to us directly. You can go on our project website, South Dakota Ave, and you will find my contact information, which is Syra Molina. You can email me, is syra.molina2@dc.gov. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You could also reach out to the council's member office if you can't reach me, and they will forward us any concerns, and we'll be sure to engage with you as much as we can. If you did dial by phone, though, it's the same feature. It's *3 again to speak. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. And then I'll kick it off to Christine.
Right. Thank you, Syra, and thank you, Director. So we are going to do a recap very quickly about where we've been, where we've started, where we're going, just to give everyone an idea of where we are in the project. We are on the third phase of the public meeting schedule, and so this will be our last overall public meeting. As we get further into the details of each spot location, we will have specific meetings with the ANC and work through the ANC, and if there's a transportation commission, for those to work out all of the details. But hi, I'm Christine Mayer. I'm Associate Director for the Multimodal Safety Engineering Division here at DDOT, and we've been leading this project from start to finish. We've had a lot of input from some of our other divisions at DDOT, so we are excited to show you what we've come up with so far, from where we started to where we are now. So do we know if, has the council member joined at all? Okay.
No, I don't see him on,
Okay.
but if he does join, I'll interrupt you.
Okay,
So that you speak.
sounds good. Yeah,
Thank
just
you.
let me know if he joins. If not, we'll see him on Saturday. So we'll start off with our project background, since we've already gotten our introduction from our director, where we started, where we are now, the community feedback summary of everything that we've heard so far. Then we'll go into spot enhancements. We want to focus most of our time tonight on these, just to give you an idea of what we've been working on, and then our next steps going into that, and then we'll end with Q&A. We will have a public meeting. If you'd like to come in person and maybe discuss some of your comments there, that will be Saturday at Perry Street Prep, from 10 a.m. To noon. So same presentation in the morning, but we're going to keep it a little bit shorter so that we give people more time to speak at each of the boards and look at the information in detail. So where we started in FY24, Councilmember Parker earmarked local capital budget funds to develop specifically a road diet, and recommended two segments that DDOT look at. Through conversations with a council member in fall of 2023, we recommended to study the entirety of the corridor for the feasibility of a road diet. Considering that we had $1 million from that initial fund, and then received another $300,000 in FY25. So where we started was to study the entire 3 miles from Riggs Road all the way down to Bladensburg Road, to determine if the removal of a lane was feasible. To look at the road diet options as well for repurposing that space, and then design a road diet for that segment and spot improvements, and then seek further funds for any further build out. However, things have changed. There's been a lot of disruptions with DDOT's budget and DC's budget overall. So there's no additional funds that are coming to this project. So we had to pivot to what we could, the best options and the best outcome for this project, and really focus on spot improvements. We did finish the road diet feasibility study. We covered that in our phase 2 meeting, our public meeting 2. That recording is on the website as well. So if you'd like to hear more about that, we won't go into detail on that tonight, but we will be focusing most of our time on the spot improvements and how we can use this additional 600,000 or the remaining budget of about $600,000 that we have for this project after we complete this phase of the study. So throughout all the feedback that we've gotten from you all, we've received over 2,000 comments, about 850 and even more at this point, I think, on the interactive map. Over 1,200 comments on feedback forms, 75 additional letters, and then 144 responses on our top safety improvement spot location survey that we had from last time. So themes overall, there was a strong demand for traffic calming and measures to improve safety, with speeding being a major issue, and a lot of people commenting on crash frequency and the risks of the corridor. Pedestrian and bicyclist accessibility, the need for better sidewalks, crosswalks, intersection safety, concerns over how drivers are behaving when they're behind the wheel traveling on South Dakota and through the neighborhoods to get to South Dakota. Crossings feel dangerous for people walking. And we looked at some solutions there for better visibility, signalizing intersections, or studying for signals. And at first we're considering protected bike lanes, but that's no longer on the table for this project. People had a vision for a multimodal corridor. We heard a lot of people wanted more sustainable features with the corridor that focus on pedestrians, on cyclists, on transit users, on trees and streetscaping and things like that. Many were envisioning South Dakota Avenue as a healthier urban place that supports many travel modes. People felt very differently on the idea of bike lanes for South Dakota, but there was generally broad support for safety and accessibility improvements across the corridor. Residents were concerned a lot about, from what we heard, traffic congestion related to bike lanes and the impact on commuter traffic that it may have. But overall, a strong support across the board for a safer, more connected, community-friendly South Dakota Avenue. From the interactive map that we launched at the beginning of the project, we saw that the top intersections here, these are the top 14. Number 1 was Galloway with the most comments, then Riggs Road, and then following some of these others. Bladensburg and Rhode Island Avenue are our high injury network intersections. Those didn't receive as many comments, but the ones that we got recognized that it felt very dangerous to operate through there. So how we've used this information that we've gotten so far, we've looked at the comments that we've gotten from you all, crash data. We've collected all new data from beginning of this year, before the government shutdown, to determine our spot location priorities, looking at selecting countermeasures to address the issues that you all have noted and also that we've seen from our data, and analyzing those spot improvements for even further prioritizing those locations. Because we only have $600,000 left for this project, we won't be able to get to even the ones that we show you, all of them. We won't be able to get to all of these locations with this budget, but we will get to as many as we can with the budget that we have, and then await future budget to build the rest. So with that, I'll get into our spot enhancements that we have been looking at. So we identified these focus areas. If some of you attended last time, we identified multiple. We're going to focus on our kind of top 5 locations since then. So prioritizing high injury network intersections. These are the locations where there's a demonstrated history of many severe and fatal crashes. So really, if we can improve safety there, that goes a long way for the corridor as a whole. Intersections with high crash rates based on recent traffic crash data. School zones, especially around Perry Street Prep, Sojourner Truth School in the middle of the corridor. looking at crosswalks that have been unsignalized, that are uncontrolled, but still cross all 4 lanes of South Dakota, or 6 in some cases, and any locations that you all told us were priorities, like Galloway and Gallatin. So these are our top, in order of priority, focus areas that we'll be covering tonight. So the top one is this intersection here, number 1, with or segment, short segment, from Bladensburg all the way up to Hamlin Street, from Rhode Island up to Lawrence Street. Then we go up to Webster to Taylor Street, this segment here around Michigan Avenue. Our number 4 priority is around the school from 18th Street down to Otis. And then our 5th priority is Galloway Street and Gallatin up here. So I'll go ahead and walk through those in order of priority. So we'll start with Bladensburg to Hamlin Street. So this is existing conditions and sort of what you all, is a summary of what you all have told us so far, including as well any of the data that we've looked at and evaluated for the project. So in blue is what we've found from our observations, from our data. In orange are things that you all have noted on our interactive web map. So here we saw a lot of crashes around Vista, a lot around 30th and down at Bladensburg and Franklin as well. This one down here, Bladensburg, is a high injury intersection, really high levels of volumes turning at this intersection. People will ask for a partial closure of Franklin, or noted that that was maybe coming through another project. They noted bad behavior here from drivers, and someone recommended that we study for a traffic circle. We don't quite have the budget for that at this point, but we did look at some improvements that we think will help the feeling here. Down here at Vista Street, looking at the cut through traffic here that comes through Vista, through Franklin Street and Brookland. It's difficult to cross here. There's a lot of crashes. The sight lines are pretty difficult with the bridge and narrow side streets. So starting up at Hamlin, and we'll kind of zoom in on each one of these intersections. So for Hamlin Street, this is a lighter touch, and you'll see a lot of these treatments repeated across each of the intersections that we focus. So you'll see a lot of intersection daylighting, and this gets us to DC law, 25 feet of no parking, clear sight lines for drivers and pedestrians at intersections. So this is just making it clear and backing up parking 25 feet from every crosswalk. Here, what we saw were a lot of crashes, rear end crashes and sideswipe crashes of people who were waiting here to make a left turn in. So our proposal here is to restrict left turns across here and remove the ability to make the left turn in, but people can still make a right turn in and a right turn out. There were also a lot of rear end crashes here because the signal visibility isn't really great further down. So adding a signal ahead sign as well. Down at Vista Street, we have concrete, seeing if we can add the concrete separator island where we've currently got just markings here, adding a left turn arrow and the left turn to accommodate the left turn lane here, and make it very clear when it's allowed for people to make that left. This is another treatment you'll see repeated across each of the intersections. So installing these kind of yellow reflective frames around our traffic signals so that they're very visible at nighttime. Even if we don't have a lot of light, you can still, the headlights will reflect off of the signal, and you'll be able to see it a little bit better. We're also proposing to add a crosswalk on the south side if it's constructible, and add the ramps as well. So people have multiple options to cross here to get to where they need to go. At 30th Street, so one caveat to this design that you see on the screen, we are still confirming if a signal can be installed. This was a late addition to our study to look at a signal here. So we're still confirming that if it meets the design will be slightly different, but we'll cover that with the specific ANC meetings where we dive deeper into each of these areas. So if we can't make a signal work here, this was our proposal. So a median, a solid median coming through the middle. We've currently got up at Vista, a striped median. So just keeping it, maintaining it 2 lanes each direction through down to Franklin Street. And as you approach Bladensburg Road, so that it's a easier crossing here at 30th Street. We've observed and heard a lot about the safety of these crosswalks here. So eliminating and extending that median down, eliminating that middle lane there will be helpful for pedestrian crossing safety. And we are looking to put in rapid flashing beacons, both on the sides and in the middle. In some cases, we may be able to do overhead rapid flashing beacons, which would help with visibility as well. So if you're looking to cross there, you push the button, the beacons will flash, and drivers are aware that you'd like to cross. This median also limits left turns in and out of 30th Street. Again, if you remember from the previous slide, 30th Street sees a lot of crashes. So this reduction of the ability to make that turn is really going to help reduce the number of crashes and improve safety over here as well. Okay, so down at Bladensburg Road, we've got 2 options here. So again, daylighting kind of standard treatments here. We are looking at a striped median that will remove the ability, again, to make the left turns out and into Franklin Street on this side. These are the sides that go into the neighborhood or come out off of Bladensburg Road. We found a lot of really fast right turns and then people making really unsafe maneuvers over here, coming off of Bladensburg Road. So wanted to limit movements from here. All of these are intended to, again, reduce crashes. Lanes would be marked out and very clear so that people know where they need to be in order to make the movements that they need to here as well. Concept 2 is a little heavier on the safety side. So we're proposing for this side of Franklin, as you come off of Bladensburg, the church here would still have access to their driveway, but shutting off the ability for people to make those really fast, dangerous right turns, but still allowing access for the one home that's back here. So this remains 2-way, but it becomes right in and right out only. For this side, again, no left turns out of this minor Franklin Street, but if we can get the signal up at 30th, that's where residents can get out of the neighborhood. And then extending the solid median down here to make that, we have the opportunity to potentially make that in the future a nice landscape median. We would also have the ability with this option to create a dedicated left turn lane, which helps everyone make their turns more safely, especially with the Bladensburg Road project, which is coming in a few years, and it really sets this intersection up for better operations overall. Okay, we'll move to Rhode Island and Lawrence. That's our second location here. So existing conditions, we found a lot of crashes again at Rhode Island and Lawrence Street leading up to Rhode Island. Lots of concern about safety here. People asking about roundabouts, that there's high speeds over here and high speed right turns, and the desire to increase pedestrian and bicyclist safety because Lawrence is currently not signalized. So looking at also Rhode Island, any new developments that are coming in, safety of the intersection down here at Rhode Island as well. So what we came up with for Lawrence, 24th and leading down to Rhode Island, but we'll focus Lawrence and 24th right now, is really, again, trying to manage access across, especially uncontrolled turns across South Dakota, which lead to pretty severe crashes for drivers especially, but also for others. So preventing left turns here with a striped median, and some flex posts lining the entirety of that median space. You can still make the right turn up here as existing conditions, northbound South Dakota Avenue up to 24th Street. But you would not be able to make the left turn out of Lawrence on either side. And you wouldn't be able to make the left turn from South Dakota onto Lawrence either. For 24th Street southbound, we're looking at adding curb lane or parking lines to really reduce the visual width of the roadway and hopefully help reduce speeds for people making the right turn from South Dakota south on 24th Street. Okay. Again, here at Rhode Island Avenue, treatments are a little bit lighter, but visually narrow 24th as you come through. A lot of residents complained about speeding here, and we observed it as well. And then down on the northbound approach to Rhode Island at 24th, enhancing the visibility of that intersection with the daylighting as well, reminding people of the speed limit here. Okay, our next segment in order of priority is Webster to Taylor Street. So existing conditions, a lot of skewed intersections. Many of the intersections along South Dakota are skewed because it's a diagonal avenue that cuts across a grid. So people complained about that crosswalks were dangerous, that there was a lot of speeding and red light running for Webster, especially at 14th Street. At Michigan, that pedestrians needed a head start, that traffic calming measures were needed, recommended to realign the intersection, and that there was some overgrown and poorly maintained sidewalks. We see a lot of movements between Taylor, Webster, and Michigan because Michigan has that kind of S curve in it. So we tried to come up with something that helps with that situation. So here at Webster in South Dakota, so I think the biggest thing here is looking at red light enforcement and studying that to see if it would meet our criteria for that. And when we're able to buy new cameras again, putting that in the queue for prioritization. A lot of these other treatments are somewhat standard as well. No turn on red signs, reminding drivers of pedestrians crossing as they're making their turns, daylighting the intersections for better visibility for drivers and pedestrians. And then another one here is the driveway that comes out of the school here, adding a supplemental stop bar here. So drivers coming southbound know where to stop appropriately. And then the folks coming out of the school have some space and to get into the southbound queue to get through the signal there. For Michigan and South Dakota, we've got a couple of recommendations here that change things up due to all the comments that we received. But so the main thing here is to close off the 16th Street slip lane here. So you won't be able to make that shorter right turn here. We will close that off, and then you'll be able to make the right turn at Michigan and South Dakota. But that also means 16th Street. We were recommending to one-way that away from the intersection. So you can, if you're going northbound, you can still make a right turn onto 16th Street, but you won't be able to make a southbound left to get onto South Dakota. So you'll have to go up to Webster, and we're hoping to point people to signalized intersections to make these turns. And also simplify this one so that we see fewer crashes and it feels safer for everyone out there. Adding a leading pedestrian interval, that's where pedestrians get a head start across the intersection here as well. And looking to, if we're one-waying this location, reconfiguring and removing the traffic light here. Okay, at Taylor in South Dakota, we came up with two concepts. This one is kind of a lighter touch, really focuses on visibility treatments, giving pedestrians more time to cross, no turn on red like we do, switching out the signs to make sure they're very readable for everyone, and reminding drivers to stop for pedestrians. But I'll focus most of our time on this one. So what we noticed in the traffic data and what we heard from the community is there's a lot of people making turns here, but there's also a lot of pedestrians and people biking on the sidewalk and otherwise crossing here. So our proposal here was to actually utilize one of the lanes that we have on northbound South Dakota, turn that into a left turn lane because we get so many people making that left turn, so that people can make a safer left turn onto South Dakota, and then potentially also have a southbound right turn that operates as well. So that was our big thing here. And then trying to align things better. So with your single lane that goes north, making sure people, which we hear a lot all across the city, can't go straight through from a left turn lane. So putting in a median refuge island that also helps pedestrians, but it really helps drivers align and for there not to be unpredictable behaviors happening in the intersection. So that's our biggest change in proposal here. This segment from 18th to Otis Street is really focused around the school. So existing conditions, we heard a lot of pedestrian crossing issues here at 18th and Shepherd in South Dakota, and a lot of turns happening all around the intersection. We do see a fair amount of crashes here as well, especially those heading southbound, side swipes, and things, people trying to get in and out of and weave through lanes to get to where they need to go. We also heard about sight distance limitations at Randolph in South Dakota, and that there were, saw that there were many rear end and sideswipe crashes again. Requests for crossing guards, school zone concerns here, requests to realign the intersection down at Quincy and Perry, and add additional time for pedestrian crossings. So starting back up north at 18th and Shepherd, this one we're really focused on the pedestrian crosswalks, trying to shorten those as much as possible, shorten the crosswalk distance with the curb extensions here, preventing, so actually restricting left turns from northbound South Dakota down 18th Street when you could make a more visible and an easier turn down at Randolph Street. With this, we were recommending also a protected, which is like a dedicated phase for northbound turning left traffic to get onto South Dakota from northbound 18th Street onto South Dakota. With that reconfiguration, there may be some additional delay that we see, but we'll dive deeper into that with our specific community meetings. All across the corridor, if you've seen these are to slow down. They're usually on the center line. We slow down turning vehicles so that people are making a slower, more visible turn, and they can see people crossing as well as other drivers. Randolph 19th. So here, a lot of what you've seen before, daylighting, the intersection, turn calming here to make sure people are making more intentional left and right turns, shorten crossing distance as well. Another thing that we're looking at here is making this segment of 19th Street right turn off of South Dakota only, so you can't turn southbound left. Left turns tend to be the most dangerous across the board, so especially when they're unsignalized. So making that a right turn only, and then people can come up here and come up to Randolph and then make their turn as they need. Center line hardening through 19th, since we don't, nobody needs to then make a left out of 19th in this proposal. Putting a restriction through this side of 19th across the driveway for the, or alleyway, I think. Really kind of limiting things, trying to make it safer so that we're removing some of the conflicts that can be very dangerous, especially to school children crossing here. Putting in speed feedback signs to help remind people of the posted speed limit and that, you know, whether they're exceeding that. So they'll get a flash, a flashing LED if they are exceeding the speed limit. Okay, down at Perry Quincy on South Dakota, really focusing here on curb extensions, on reducing the speeds and making sure we've got a speed feedback sign, again, for drivers to alert them when they are exceeding the speed limit, and then adding pedestrian crossing time based on the comments that we received here as well. Looking at 20th and Otis. So again, children crossing the school here it did not feel safe. The sidewalks tend to be pretty narrow. Some even supported removing 20th from the network for other uses, like I guess park extensions or whatever. Also at Otis, uncontrolled crossings are dangerous. Drivers didn't stop for people crossing here. People requested a stoplight here. We did look at a signal here. It did not meet the warrant, so we are looking at other treatments here as well. So these kind of work together. So this slide and then the next slide. So we have the proposal here to prevent northbound right turns from 20th Street. That's another like really difficult turn to make, especially for larger vehicles. And it can be really challenging to see pedestrians and react in time because of that really sharp right turn. So preventing right turns from northbound 20th Street, giving more time for pedestrians to cross at the intersection, and then putting in that turn calming to really prevent the really fast and for people cutting the corner to make their turn quickly. Down at Otis Street, we do have two options here as well. For Otis, we would recommend centerline hardening and restricting left turns onto and out of Otis Street here, based on the comments and the data that we saw from crashes. So there's two options for that. So we can make it one way in for people to make their right turns into Otis and continue on. So it would be westbound only. Or our second option is to make it feeding South Dakota, and this one works better with our proposal on 20th Street, so that you could make a right turn down off of South Dakota to 20th Street. And then if you needed to re-enter and get back on South Dakota, you could still make the right back out using Otis Street. Same thing if you're heading northbound on 20th Street and we're restricting the right turns up at 20th in South Dakota, you can make your right turn here at Otis and continue southbound. Also increasing lighting here and adding the rapid flashing beacons overhead. All right, in our last location, Galloway Street in Gallatin. So this received the most comments from you all, and we also saw a lot from our data and reviewing crashes. So what you all told us is to study it for a traffic circle, to create connections to the MBT and ART, the trails in the area, that there's aggressive drivers here, there's sidewalk gaps on Galloway, but there's also frequent red light running and also a lot of buses move through here to get to the metro station. At Gallatin, thinking about trail connections in the planning process, that's difficult to cross here for pedestrians and cyclists, that there should be no right turns on red here. There's a lot of dangerous driver behavior around, and so on. So what we saw from our data was a lot of traffic was coming in through Gallatin, making a right turn up South Dakota, and then making a left turn to Galloway Street to get to the metro station and the development back here. Similarly, people making a left turn off of Galloway to get southbound onto South Dakota. So for this one, we would look at something similar to Taylor Street, actually, where we've got a northbound left turn lane for Galloway that would come up and allow buses to have dedicated space, and people turning in, since we have such a high volume, they would be able to have a dedicated lane and a signal phase to make their left turn. Similar for people coming out of Galloway, making that very high volume right turn onto southbound South Dakota. That could happen in a dedicated lane as well. And then to again reinforce so that people aren't going straight through from the left turn lane, which is very dangerous. Putting in a short median island to reinforce that's left turn only and allow the through lanes to come through here as well. We need to relocate the bus stop, and some fewer vehicles would be able to go straight during the rush hour, but we would save a lot of time and improve operations by having the left turns in their own lane. Down at Gallatin Street, these treatments are really just kind of basic safety improvements. If we can investigate further turn lanes here, but for the most part, the visibility challenges here are really crucial to address first and foremost. So making sure people aren't parking right up to the crosswalk, that the signals are visible, that we can slow down people making turns that would previously make them very quickly. Okay, so that is the spot locations that we have prioritized. We will release more as we get through, but those are more recommendations. We wanted to focus on these top 5 with you all because those are the ones that we could feasibly afford most of them, or at least some of them. I wanted to go into the cost of improvements and how, so you all are informed when you're making your decisions, when you're taking our feedback form. So the treatment at Galloway to Gallatin, these are kind of ranges, depends on when we get to them, the cost of labor and materials and so on. But a construction estimate for the proposal at Galloway and Gallatin is about anywhere from $70,000 to $80,000 with the signal changes that need to happen. Webster to Taylor Street for our first concept that was lighter touch, as low as $50,000. For our second concept, which was higher touch, could be up to $100,000. 18th and Shepherd to Otis Street, really, 130 to 160,000 because it's a longer segment and we're trying to do a bit more, especially for the crossing safety. That's where we see most of the costs come from. 20th to Otis, for those locations, anywhere from 60 to 80,000 for that. From Lawrence to Rhode Island, really won't cost us too much, so 10,000 to 20,000 for that. Hamlin to Bladensburg, if we are able to put in the signal with our kind of concept 2, that will be anywhere from like $500,000 to potentially higher to 600,000 with the constructed medians. If we are only doing the rapid flashing beacons with a median, that could be anywhere from 250 to 300,000. I will note that all of these are construction costs only. They do not include design. So I wanted to kind of do the math for you. So budget math, our design cost estimate to do all 5 priorities will be anywhere, and with all of the ranges and everything, so anywhere from 250,000 to 500,000. Construction for all 5 of the top priority would be 850,000 minimum to about 1.1 million maximum. So the total for the top 5, which is design plus construction, would be 1.15 million up to 1.6 million. That's total design, construction, everything. We have 600,000 left in our budget. So what we would need to finish all of those top 5 is an additional at least 550,000. But if we are going to the top of those treatments, up to an additional $1 million for just these top 5 locations. So given that, and that we do have only 600,000 left in our budget, we are recommending to prioritize those intersections that were our top 3, the two Bladensburg to Hamlin and Rhode Island Street, and potentially getting to around the school, and then looking to further funding and future opportunities to construct some of these others. Okay. For our next step, again, recapping on the budget, we've gone through this. We have about 600,000 remaining. For our future engagement with the community after this round, we'll get your feedback. Our feedback form you'll see on a later slide asks you if you agree with these priorities, if you'd like us to have different priorities, and as we get further funding, which would you like us to prioritize next? We will have further, more detailed meetings with ANCs and local communities around the sites that we are prioritizing. So future conversations will be focused on those areas. And then we will issue NOIs once we get to final design decisions there. So this is where we are. This is our third round of public meetings, looking at spot improvement concepts and looking at our prioritized spot improvements. We should have our road diet feasibility report on the website if you'd like to dive a little bit deeper into that and recap where we've been. But looking forward in spring and summer, we will be looking to spot improvement, final design, engaging specifically with ANCs and local areas around those spot locations to get into the details, finalize those designs for the priority locations, send out notices of intent through the ANC, the council member, and so on for those spot treatments, and then move into construction, hopefully with those higher priority ones. As budget cycles renew, we'll always look for new funds and new mechanisms to build those remaining top 5 as funding is available. All right. We have a feedback form. This is on the left side of your screen, the QR code here. We want to know what you think of what we're proposing. Do you agree with our priorities? Would you like us to look at others in our top 5? You on the right side of your screen, that's our South Dakota Avenue project website. You can find everything from where we started, all the recordings of all of these public meetings, all the materials that we've mentioned tonight. You'll find that there. You can join our mailing list as well. And then you can also sign up for the council members mailing list if you're not already on it. I think that is all that we have. So we'll move into Q&A. Thank you all so much for listening. And yeah, I will keep this up in case we need to go back and forth through each of the locations. All right, so with that, what do we have?
Thank you, Christine. We have someone that raised their hand. So I will go ahead and unmute you now. Give me 1 second.
I just have a question about the schedule. What is the estimated duration from final design to construction? Do you think that's like a quick turnaround time, or is it designed like within the 3 months and then procurement and then you'll be in construction within the right after design, or will there be some lag time?
No, so for this, we're gonna be using all of our existing construction or contracts that we have, so we don't need to do
Okay.
more procurement. So
Okay.
as long as we've got the funds to put towards those contracts to get these designed and constructed, it can be done a bit more quickly. Now, we are limited by the construction crew and their like what they have available and when they are available, because they're also doing work all over the city. But our goal
Yeah.
is to get these designed and then into construction sometime early next year, early or late fall. I forget what season we're in, but by fall of 2026, we hope to have some action on these. Yeah.
Okay. And are you the main point of contact during construction, or is there another point of contact?
Usually we'll hand it off to our construction team and they have folks that that are more equipped and they'll see it more often than we do during construction. So they'll be available for that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm unmuting the next participant. That would be S. Taylor.
Hello, Syra, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, Christine, and Director Kirschbaum also.
Hello.
Yes. My first question is, when will this meeting be available for playback? How soon?
I think we'll have it uploaded sometime tomorrow, if
Okay.
all goes well. Yeah.
All
Yep,
right.
that's what
Perfect.
we're aiming for. But if you have any specific questions, or if you don't see it by tomorrow, feel free to reach out to me and I'll provide you an update.
Okay, will do. Thank you. And let's see. I was curious if the funding wasn't cut. I know there was both local and federal funding cut for what was projected for South Dakota Avenue. I'm just wondering if that hadn't happened. Do you guys have an idea of what were the likely plans for South Dakota?
I mean, because everything happened how it did, but we had to adjust. We didn't really think of like we were kind of sticking with the now, and trying to readjust and trying to get some safety improvements based on what we had. We didn't really make any plans otherwise. We did.
Well,
I think
yeah.
maybe you're remembering we had put in for some federal funding requests for some supplemental. They call it supplemental appropriations from the House with Delegate Holmes Norton. Did not get that, and because of the budget constraints, no further funding was going to be dedicated to this at this point. So we had to kind of readjust and just really focus on what we are showing now.
Well, and thank you for that. And the reason for me asking that was because I know that majority of the funding that was allocated did go into a study, and I was hoping that it wouldn't in vain. So I was just wondering what was the outcome of that and the projections from that. And a follow up to that would be the EIAs that came from the study, the environmental impact assessments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there a report on those that can be provided?
So we, because we wanted to focus more of the funding that we had on the spot improvements, we addressed a lot of that last time. We finished the feasibility study of what it looks like if we remove a lane, and what happens to traffic and so that report and the recording from that meeting is posted on the website. I don't have it in this PowerPoint slide to this deck to bring up right now. But we can have that information ready if you're coming to Saturday, or you
Yeah,
can
for
look
sure.
at it further on the website and let us know any questions there. We didn't go down the road into environmental assessment because we knew that we just had to refocus and really focus on the spot treatments instead, since there wouldn't be money to pursue the road diet in the short term.
Oh, well, see, I thought this incorporated, of course, environmental assessments. Just that was just understood, regardless of the outcome of like funding. So okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah,
So
right. That
yeah,
normally, usually our environmental assessments and environmental documentation come once we have a concept solidified, once we know exactly what is going to be built on the corridor. That's the point in which we do the environmental assessments. If we're
okay.
just in a study phase, we wouldn't pursue that until we've got a concept and we can really accurately do that assessment. Otherwise, we don't have that for it.
Well, okay, and I understand that, and thank you for confirming that for me. But no offense, I do understand how, of course, more things will become um, available for study as the project progresses. But I don't want it to be missed. I feel, which it has been in the process, the study omitting certain impacts on community and environment. Um, I feel that that's happened, and that, along with also, no offense, DDOT's apparent one-dimensional approach to many of the issues and concerns along South Dakota Avenue, and not just subject to South Dakota Avenue. And what I mean by one-dimensional approach is everything you all are suggesting are just barriers and things that will not only add to but worsen congestion, which is the primary issue on South Dakota Avenue and throughout the city, honestly. I understand that they're speeding and, of course, multimodal accessibility. Those are also concerns. But you guys appear to give thought to that while disregarding or not giving adequate enough attention and concern to congestion. For instance, you said that 30th Street and South Dakota Avenue
I'm
was
sorry,
yeah,
Mr. Taylor. We have
yeah.
multiple people who have raised their hand and questions. So I don't want to take too much time because
All
we
right.
will.
In closing, I'm saying what I'm saying now in closing respectfully. So I'll just end by saying this. Um, I think we need to really re-examine the approach here, because all of you all's suggested resolutions, again, they aren't pre- presenting a solution to the issues. They're actually worsening things. You guys, everything you're suggesting is just more congestion and restriction. That's only going to worsen things. So I'll end there, and I'll follow up with each of you all individually after this meeting.
Thanks. We do appreciate your feedback, and we're happy to engage with you further offline. The next panel or questions that we have, I have Angela Bowen. I'm going to unmute you right now. And if you could just, again, we have others in online to ask questions in the Q&A as well. So we want to make sure we get through everybody. So if you could just quickly answer your questions, and then we'll make sure to answer them accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I am Angela Bowen, and I am concerned about the closing, I guess, of the access to 24th Street and Lawrence. We, the neighbors in that block, would be the 2200 block of Kearney and Lawrence, would have to go all the way through traffic around the blocks to be able to access our front and our backyards. And so there seems to be another alternative could work if even we're just closing one of those streets as opposed to both of those streets for being able to access our back or our driveways and our front yards. So I just like that to be something that's taken into consideration, especially on Kearney, where Kearney at 24th and Kearney is actually one way. And so you've now got us not able to make a left when we're on Rhode Island Avenue heading out. And now you're saying that we're not going to be able to make the right onto South Dakota Avenue and then the left onto 24th Street or the left onto Lawrence. So it really is making it very difficult for us to just get to our homes. So I want some consideration taken into your thought processes to come up with another solution that would make it more viable, more convenient for residents that actually live right here in the thrust of Rhode Island Avenue in South Dakota. And we're just having a difficult time just navigating to our homes.
Yeah, understood. We can look into that much further, and I'd love to hear more about that. So the only thing we're restricting here to get to, if I'm understanding, you're on Kearney between 24th. So you just wouldn't be able to make the left turn up to Rhode Island and the right turn from Rhode Island up to South Dakota, and then the left turn down south. But you could go through on Rhode Island and reach Kearney Street.
Right. When we're coming from that direction, we could do it the way you're saying. The problem is that when we are coming from South Dakota Avenue and we are wanting to make that left to go into our driveways that are in the back, we're having to go and navigate all the way around the building or all the way around the blocks in order to get to our homes. So you've gone past your home to come back to it.
Gotcha. Okay. We'll take a
Yeah,
look at
and
that.
we will take a look at that, and we do appreciate the feedback. This is why we wanted to have this meeting, because we wanted to share concepts, right? These are just initial thoughts of what we can do, what kind of safety tools we can recommend for this area to address the concerns that we saw in our data and also the community feedback. But the good thing about this is that it's not out in construction and it's not final design, right? So what we plan to do after this meeting is, as we noted in the presentation, coordinate with the specific residents and ANC and the council member with the communities that we will move forward with final design and construction. So with those specific communities, you will hear from us again. This is not the last time you'll hear from us. So we do look forward to engaging with you, Ms. Bowman, if we are able to touch Lawrence in any way. And we do appreciate your feedback because it is your experience that helps us shape the safety of our roads and helps us better design what we're going to implement on South Dakota Ave.
Thank you very much.
Yep. The next person that I'm going to unmute is going to be AA White.
Hello?
Yes, you're able to answer your question.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Alice Allen White. I've lived on South Dakota Avenue for at least 30 years or more. I have a couple of concerns. One of them is the narrowing of some of the streets or even some of the crosswalks, depending upon how narrow they are. Because of the fact South Dakota Avenue is very heavy on traffic, normally Monday through Friday, my concern is emergency vehicles that have to. There's traffic in both directions. You've narrowed the street for crossing, and all of a sudden they can't get out. And I'm talking about like coming off Franklin Street. And I live near. I'm on South Dakota, and I can see 30th Street across the street from me. I'm on the corner of South Dakota and 30th on the east side, but the west side of South Dakota is the 30th Street that comes out on an angle. So my concern is that by narrowing a lot of these side streets is an impact on the emergency vehicles. I've seen them try to come down South Dakota Avenue when people have parked too far out into the street, and they're having a hard time getting down there to get to the homes that are down near Central Avenue. So I think that you need to look at the way in which, I do understand pedestrians need to have an opportunity to be able to get across the street, and you want to make it as safe as possible. But at the same time, you have to take in consideration emergency vehicles. There's an older generation out there, people older than me.
Yeah.
And, and they may need to have emergency vehicle to take them to a hospital. They're not going to get to a hospital if the traffic is all backed up and you're down to one lane, especially in the morning. And I think the other concern that I had is people trying to get off of 30th Street onto South Dakota Avenue. You talked about the accidents on South Dakota Avenue. I can say in the last 6 years, my fence has been in the front and on the side has been damaged, both twice in the front, twice on the side. I see what I call meet and greets out there all the time, where people have bumped into each other, ran into each other or bumped into each other, and they're out there trying to work out that situation. Some of it is speed, some of it is not seeing. Whether or not you allow people to come from from 30th Street onto South Dakota Avenue to go north, maybe we can do some sort of control intersection where it's light control, because when they come out on that road, depending upon how heavy the traffic is, I'm almost certain a lot of people cannot see down South Dakota Avenue when somebody is flying up the street. And there is no way of, well, right now there is no speed control or no red light there. Camera there to stop people from flying up the street the way they do in the morning. That was not like that when I first moved here. hardly any traffic. I mean, traffic came through here, but it wasn't like that. But now it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Thank you for those comments. Oh, sorry, was there another?
No, there's not another one. I'm just saying, please take the narrowing into consideration for the ambulances. That is a definite concern because I've seen streets that have been where they have bumped out the curb and the ambulance is trying to get down the street and there's cars in the way and they can't get around. I mean, there's one car and another car to the side of it, and it's basically one lane anyway, and the ambulance can't get through. And they got the lights flashing and everything, but there's so much traffic, nobody can get out the way.
Gotcha. Yes. So every one of our projects, especially if it changes up the configuration of the street, of an intersection, we do check with the local fire station and see what they think of it, and go in and look at the location with them as well. One of the things that the daylighting zones here help with is to make sure that parked cars aren't blocking that area, so people do have a space to get out of those side streets and get out of the way of the emergency vehicle, so that they could get through it and make a turn. We've modified a number of times the way that we even do those curb extensions. So these are just recommended with paint and potentially some flex posts, but usually we'll put those further on the interior of those extensions so that people can still get out of the way. But as we go through design, we'll make sure that all of the geometry works with the fire equipment that's coming through there. And your second question, we are actually looking at a signal for 30th Street. I might have gone past that too fast, but this is the option if a signal is not found to be warranted. This is seeming like it will be warranted, but I don't want to promise anything. And so there may be a different design that comes out of this that is signal controlled here that we would look to install instead of some of these.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and read a few comments and questions that we received in the chat. From Michael, firstly, I think this is a good start. Wish we could do bigger things though. I see this will mainly improve issues with turn-in. Do you all estimate that this will actually lower drop in speed on South Dakota?
So we are hoping to lower speeds on South Dakota, especially with some of the treatments that we have further up the corridor, especially near the school zone. Really trying to add those speed feedback signs for folks. The main thing that we're trying to solve here are the number of crashes and the number of potential crashes or conflict points that we see. So when we're looking at an engineering from an engineering standpoint at an intersection, all of the potential turns and all of the places that people could get into a crash are called a conflict point. And we look at that for every intersection. So because we've seen so many crashes and we heard that that was a priority, we're really looking at trying to simplify intersections, trying to reduce the number of crashes that folks experience out here, or the meet and greets. I like how you put that, Ms. White. So that we reduce those, not that we don't want to meet our neighbors, but not in that way, and can really enhance safety across the corridor. Some of the treatments that we have further up, like near Taylor Street, if I can get up to that. Sorry, I got a little lag here. Installing these left turn lanes that we were recommending here. There we go, at Taylor Street. So a lot of congestion happens around Taylor Street because of through moving vehicles waiting behind long lines of people waiting to make their turn. And they're waiting to make their turn because they don't have a gap in traffic or a dedicated time in the signal to make those turns. And so that creates congestion for everybody else waiting on people to make their turn at this location. But if we carve out some space for the left turn lanes here, that helps all of the movements happen more safely and can slow down vehicles as they're transitioning into the other lane that can go through. The left turn lane is a safer space for drivers to wait while they're waiting for their phase in the signal so that they can safely make their turn. And because there's such a high number of turns happening here, it helps with pedestrians because we can separate out the left turns from pedestrian crossings north and southbound. So this is really, we think, an operational improvement. It will help congestion because there's so many people making the turns here. But it will also slow down vehicles because there will be some getting into certain lanes and some temporary narrowing while people make their turns. But we aim to reduce crashes. We're aiming to slow people down throughout the corridor and just make sure it's safer for everyone.
Thank you, Christine. I see Conica, I think I'm pronouncing your name maybe right. But I see you made some comments or questions on the chat, but I do see your hand raised, so I'm just gonna allow you to speak, and I'm gonna unmute you now.
Okay. You can hear me?
Yes,
Hi.
thank you.
Thank you. I'm Kanika Dunson. I'm the commissioner for 5C01 Fort Lincoln. Thank you for this meeting. I do appreciate the detailed maps so you can visualize everything. That's very helpful. The one that's closest to my area that I wanted to specifically ask about, my question I put in the chat was, can you elaborate on the difference between concept 1 and 2, which was South Dakota and Bladensburg? So there were two different concepts. If you could just say more about what are the pros and cons of those two concepts, because that will become before our commission. And the other question I had, and this is just general, in some of the projects, I was trying to follow as best as possible. Some of the lanes, when they're like, we have on the intersection, this is not in this presentation, but on Eastern and Rhode Island, there's lanes, so you have a left turn only, one straight lane, and a right turn only. So there, it's actually caused left turn onlys. Really, I do think are helpful. Even if it does keep things moving, and you don't have to make those dangerous, like get out there and make the left turn. So I do appreciate that. But having only one pass through lane and then the restricted right lane, the traffic backs up. So just looking over in South Dakota, is there consideration to, like, when you have not being able to have cars flow, like when there's a backup? So I don't know. I did hear you may have a dedicated left one place.
Yes.
I don't know if any dedicated rights, but that's an intersection that sometimes now backs all the way up to Bladensburg Road when it used to not be there. So I just want to have your thoughts on that, because we do appreciate definitely the dangerous left turns, but also the ripple effect of the backup when there's no flow through traffic on a lane. And last question is that are there studies as these once these interventions, which clearly you can see the definitely need to reduce the dangerous left turns, but are there studies that DDOT does to say, okay, now that this is in place,
Yes.
how we evaluate that and that? So yeah, those are my one was kind of a comment, but the two questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. So yes, we do, to your most recent question, we do studies before, after. Now we've started to roll them out for a lot of our projects to see if what we intended is happening. Is it causing other issues? Are there other things that we need to adjust? We have something actually for that Eastern and Rhode Island location separate from this to try and help with that. That should be going to construction sometime, hopefully this spring. So yes, we do go back and revisit locations if they're not performing as we would hope. So the differences between these two concepts, I'll shift to that. So this one maintains a striped median for the entirety of that middle portion. And that really helps kind of separate the northbound and southbound moving traffic, make sure there's no kind of crossover turn crashes or even like head-on side swipes, things like that. The second, and then it with Franklin, it still allows the right turns from Bladensburg onto Franklin. The Bladensburg Road project recommends a pretty substantial curb extension on this side, but maintains access. That's most of it for this one. For the second option, this one we're repurposing that median space to provide a dedicated right lane, a dedicated left lane, and then 2 through lanes. So that is, I think, getting to your point on congestion. And this is also, in our opinion, the safer option. That way we can signal control some of these turns, and really make sure that we can help reduce crashes so everyone's making their turn safely. And then the backups that people experience are slightly reduced on South Dakota Avenue, because more people have space to turn and get into their specific lane. And then there's 2 through lanes versus just the one here at this location. Because we saw so many turns happen here, this was something that we wanted to look at and also be able to provide those turns safely.
Okay, great. Thank you. And oh, and just so you'll present this, because this will be, you all will reach out to the 5C because this is
Yes.
our intersection. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, after this round, we'll dive deeper and come to you all sometime early next year. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, in the Q&A, we have Evans, who said for Galloway Street, there is no longer a bus stop on the south side of Galloway. I assume that is the one you are talking about removing. Metro removed it as part of their network redesign, though plenty of residents would like it back. There is still a bus stop on the north side heading south, westbound.
Okay, great. That's good to know. Thank you.
And then Caitlin, I'm anonymous. I responded to your earlier question. She noted that, thank you for this. I noticed that the priority areas seem to skip over part of South Dakota directly adjacent to Middle High School St. Aslan's. Why isn't this considered a school zone? And so I had noted that we're prioritizing the top 5 intersections that have high crash and also other safety concerns, and it's within our high injury network. And that if additional funding becomes available, we would take a look at other areas. And then even with these 5 priority segments, we can't promise we can't commit to constructing every single or taking every single segment into design and construction. We are only able to do what's available in our funding. I did note that you acknowledge that and you can appreciate those constraints and our good ideas. She said that. So we do have good ideas. Although she said, I just thought school zones criteria would apply for some stretches of the school, not just an intersection nearby. For example, students are crossing from the bus stop across South Dakota Ave that isn't covered here. So the school that she speak of is near Webster, which that intersection we're touching, but the rest of the school zone for that school, we're not. It's not within one of the segments that we're prioritizing. So it's not that we don't consider that area a school zone. It's just, again, unfortunately, due to funding, we are a bit constrained. But if additional funding becomes available, we would be happy to further evaluate that area. Did you want to add to anything, Christine?
No, not too much, but I will note that so there's an official school zone, which I'm gonna have to try and recall what the DC code says. I think it's 350 feet from the entrance of that school, or it might be the parcel sorry, I don't have it off the top of my head. So that's a more limited location. When our Safe Routes to School team, that's part of another administration, when they do a walk audit, they tend to look within a quarter mile of that school. So once that school is prioritized in the Safe Routes team, you'll have another shot at some of these safety improvements. I will say we've spent a lot of time working on all of the locations that we identified last time and trying to come up with safety countermeasures, but we knew that we couldn't build some of them, so we wanted to show you all our top 5, knowing that these were the most likely to and most important and areas where the most harm is, and the most risk is, to try and build some things with the remaining budget that we have, and then seek future funding, and dive a little bit deeper into those locations as further funding became available. So we're hopeful we can address some of these locations in the future that we aren't able to right now, but for the time being, we are having to focus on the areas that have the most harm existing, unfortunately. Yeah.
Thank you. At the moment, we have answered all the Q&A, and we don't have anyone who has their hand raised. So if you do have any questions, feel free to either raise your hand and I will unmute you, or you can plug your question on Slido and I will read it off so we can answer any concerns you have. Ms. White, you have a question. Let me unmute you. Or I think you can unmute yourself. I think you're able to unmute yourself. AA White. Oh, no. It looks like
Be able to. Yeah.
they lowered their hands.
Oh, here we go. Can you
Oh,
hear me
yes.
now?
Yes.
Okay. Question that I have is there any way to put some sort of speed control between Bladensburg Road and 30th Street? Because I can tell you when that light changes, they're flying up that street. They're flying up that portion of the street, and that might slow down some of the accidents.
Mm. So we aren't able to buy any more speed cameras or red light cameras right now because budget's constrained across the board. And there's some stuff with our neighbors on Pennsylvania Avenue that that kind of restrict our ability for that right now. But in the future, we could consider that within the.
If it goes on your list, because that's one of the problems, especially. I mean, I'll put it this way: it's not that bad on the weekends. It's just bad during work hours.
Mhm. Yeah. What we could do is look at a speed feedback sign for that to help alert drivers. Those we can put up a little bit more than, and they don't cause as much controversy as speed cameras. But I know speed camera is probably what you're aiming for. So we can put it on the list, but I can't guarantee anything, unfortunately.
Okay. The other thing that I'm thinking about is on 30th Street, the east side of 30th Street. People come down Bladensburg Road to try to avoid the light. They cut up to Central Avenue, come to Central Avenue and hit 30th Street, and they're flying up 30th Street to South Dakota, South Dakota Avenue, so they can make the right turn in the morning. And a couple of times it's been dangerous, and we have, just like when I first moved here, we still have kids in the neighborhood, and a lot of them are walking to school. And they're flying, like I said, they're flying their cars up the road. Is it possible to put some speed bumps or to calm the traffic?
And speed bumps on Central, you were saying?
No, on 30th Street. Well, maybe Central
30th.
too, if the people on
Yeah.
Central want that, but I'm just talking about 30th Street.
So let me go back to 30th. We had recommended some speed humps for 30th Street, yes, as part of our
Okay.
treatments there. So yeah, that was definitely something on our minds as well. Sorry, I'm not now, of course. But anyway, yes, that was in our in what we were looking at. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Again, we will be in person at Perry Street Prep on Saturday morning from 10 to noon, as long as the snow doesn't extend longer, hopefully not. But we'll be there in the morning, 10 a.m. to noon at Perry Street Prep. Come by, we'll have all these printed out and posted on the wall, and then you can talk to all of our wonderful staff and get some more information or any other questions that you have answered.
And it's slide 22, Christine, for 30th. And yeah, you could
So
see
it's close. Okay.
the proposed speed hump on 30th.
Yes. There we go. Yeah.
Right there. Monica, I see you have your raised hand again, and it's Commissioner Conica. You can go ahead and unmute yourself since I had already unmuted you. You have that control.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to say, can we get this emailed? Will you have slides?
So
'Cause it
this
has
will be
for the-
posted on the website.
Okay,
Um,
okay, thank
yep.
you. I just wanted to get all the links at the end. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It'll
Can
be
you just-
posted on the website right there, and we can put the link to the website in the chat or in the
Perfect.
Q&A, I guess. For
Perfect.
whatever
Thank
all
you so
can see.
much.
No problem. Here, let me go to that slide so you can get the QR.
Okay.
So I just dropped the link for the website. I'm anonymous and the Q&A. And then the survey link is also up and working. So feel free to take the survey. The survey, we ask if we answered all your concerns, and do you agree with the top 5 priority locations? And then if no, what other locations would you want us to consider? Also, if there are additional funds available. So if you could take it and also tell your neighbors and promote that survey, because we do a survey for all of our meetings, and we do take a look at that, and we consider that as we move this project forward. We don't have any other new comments or questions in the Q&A, and we don't actually wait. Oh no, we don't. And we don't have anyone with their hands raised. So we are gonna linger around. The meeting does officially end at 8 p.m., but we can linger around to see if there are any additional participants that want to engage. But again, this recording and all materials will be available on the website. And then we look forward to also engaging with you guys in person on Saturday. As Taylor, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. As Taylor, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. You have that mechanism?
Okay, yeah. Now I'm able to do so.
Okay.
All right, quick question. Were there two different model plans for South Dakota Avenue, one with a median that allowed access from 30th Street going northbound onto South Dakota Avenue?
Yes. Let me go back to that slide. Yes, so there's 2 options there. The second one with the signal we didn't get to. because we haven't confirmed yet that that is a viable option yet, but let me get back up to that.
It's page 22. It's for
Oh, it's
Franklin
also,
Street.
okay, gotcha.
Actually, it's 30th Street. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
very
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All
Okay,
right.
so
So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. So this is the option if a signal is not warranted here, um, where we saw a lot of crossover crashes. So here would be our proposal is a solid median here with overhead flashing beacons for pedestrians to cross. If there is a signal warranted here, then it would be access, like open access, so people could make in under controlled conditions with a signal, safer turns and safer movements through the intersection. So this would not look like the same option if there's a signal that passes our tests. Basically, there's federal requirements for signals for the installation, and so we're still taking this one through and confirming that it meets. If it doesn't, it may look like this. We'll work with the local ANC and community, but if it's a signal, then it'll have a different design.
Okay, right. And that was what I was thinking. Okay, so and I understand regulations, funding, um, with regard to this becoming a controlled intersection. But that was actually the reason for my question because that doesn't exist currently. So I'm dealing with what exists here and what you all are presenting to us. This is what you all are proposing if this doesn't become a controlled intersection. And even if it does, I'm sure it's not going to happen within a projected time frame as next spring. So am I to understand that this is what can be expected until or if that control intersection comes about?
So this is just our proposal for if a signal is not warranted. Like I said,
Right, I got that.
yeah, we're going to be working and have more specific location specific meetings with the ANCs in this area and work on these with you all. This is just our initial proposal and we'll work through the details. There's some stuff, of course, we want to try and make it as safe as we can. If a signal is warranted, then we'll bring that back and show you all our proposed design for that and how it would function and operate.
Christine, respectfully, you keep uh diverting from what I'm asking. I
Oh,
trust
sorry.
me, I appreciate you explaining what could possibly happen, and I get that. But like I said, I'm going off of what you all are presenting in this presentation. So I don't see an alternative for um, 30th Street accessing South Dakota Avenue northbound. So I don't even know how this is even an option right here, just to be blunt. How are people who live in my neighborhood expected to access South Dakota Avenue northbound with this being a proposed plan?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It would be, you'd have to reroute down to 30th Street. Sorry, let me use my pointer. Down 30th Street and circulate somewhere like along Rhode Island Avenue or come out Franklin Street. Where's my cursor?
There is an access to Rhode Island Avenue from, that's the way you access Rhode Island Avenue. That's exactly why I'm asking. There would be no option for that. I mean, you can, but it would take you extremely far out of the way. This
Gotcha.
isn't feasible here. Like I said, I don't know who or how this was even an option. Who came up with this?
Yeah. No, understood. And we'll take that back. We'll see if maybe a turn lane makes more sense in the center here. But appreciate your comments on that.
And just to be clear.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
Did you lose them?
Yeah. Mr. Taylor, you can unmute yourself. We also have Kanika who has additional questions. Commissioner Kanika, you can unmute yourself as well. And this QR code for South Dakota Ave website, I fixed it.
Okay.
It's a new QR code, yeah. But
Okay, yeah.
I dropped the link for the website on the Q&A.
Okay.
So you can grab it from there. And then we'll make sure to update it on the slides as well.
That was my only question. I scanned the QR code, so I just want to make sure you saw that. Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I am finished for the evening. Good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. S. Taylor, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
I think it might re-lock the mute if it's there, so we might have to. Okay, let's try now.
Okay, sorry guys. Just in closing, I just wanted to add to my last comment. It's extremely imperative about the median, because the primary issue, which is even leading to speeding, it's a domino effect. When you create traffic calming in one area of a thoroughfare or roadway, it creates hostile driving by motorists, and it spills over into other areas where there's reckless driving, people driving hastily because they're trying to make up for lost time. That's why I brought up the issue of the impact studies. I understand everything that you all are proposing and the motivations behind it, but you really have to consider the ripple effect, like Commissioner Dunson and Ms. White both expressed earlier, because it's a lot of the things that you all are proposing are going to be undermined just a little further up the road. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I
And
definitely
this is,
understand.
so it's like, and I swear I don't mean any disrespect, but it just looks, everything that's being proposed is just creating just another, if not worse, problem, just a few blocks further along.
Yeah, I hear you.
Not to mention
I'm
side
gonna.
streets, etc. So we already talked
Mhm.
several times about this, the spillover on the side streets in residential areas. So I'm not even going to delve into that because we already know about that. But that's the point I'm making.
Yeah,
And you
and
make
honestly,
valid.
I'll take
And
it,
if
and
we're
then you can
trying to
jump in.
promote safety, that's that's the concern. I'm concerned that we're going to miss the mark on our goal.
Right.
And the data shows that since implementation of a lot of these measures, there have been increased collisions as far as motorists, pedestrians, cyclists, all the above. So we really got to look at that. And because one last thing, a lot of these measures that have been implemented, they've had to be revised a multitude of times. So that's, we're talking about money being, I don't necessarily want to say wasted, but having to be spent, over and over again on the same area.
For sure. And we
Yeah.
understand the concerns, and we have, this has been an extensive study that we've done on South Dakota Ave. If we had the capacity to, adjust the whole corridor holistically, we would. But unfortunately, fundings are constrained. So we are doing the best that we can to address the concerns that we heard from the community. One of the comments that comes to mind as you're saying that, there's going to be issues that come out of the safety improvements that we are recommending is that one of the residents had made a comment on the comment map, which I invite you to take a look at. It's over 800 comments. They stated that the current state of South Dakota Ave is does not shouldn't it's not our it does not meet our standard like currently, right? There's issues at hand on South Dakota Ave. Kids and people have stated that they lived on South Dakota Ave and they're scared to walk on the sidewalk. They're scared to cross the street. And so we are here listening to the residents, including yourself, to try to figure out what is the best way to address the concerns that have been brought up by the community. And so if the concepts that we're presenting may need some alterations, we're happy to work with the community impacted on what will work. So these are concepts. So we are going to go out to the community again to refine these concepts and figure out a design that will work to address one, safety for all users, because we have multiple users in this meeting. People have said kids are crossing South Dakota Ave. So, one concern is congestion, and the other concern is the safety for these kids that are crossing the street to get to their school, to get home, to get their parks, to get to the bus. So there's a lot of needs, and we understand that, and so we'll try to address it as best as we can, and we look forward to further engaging with you.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so we only have about 16 minutes. So again, we can linger. There are no additional questions on the chat, but we will continue to monitor it.
Okay. Yep. We'll hang around for another couple of minutes, and otherwise, yep. This is the end of our meeting. So thank you all so much for attending. We appreciate your comments and feedback. Let me put back up the feedback slides. Okay.
Okay, it looks like most participants have left, and we still did not receive any additional questions. So I think we can end the meeting for the participants that are here. Again, this recording will be on our website. All materials will be live on our website, and then we will have the in-person meeting on Saturday. Thank you so much, and we can go ahead and end the call or the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.